Welcome, all fellow wannabes. Welcome to the show. You are listening to the Wannabe Critic podcast. I am one of your hosts, Gabriel Fast, and joining me are fellow Star Wars fans, fellow Mandalorian fans, my fellow just friends in general. We have one Caleb Henley, one Rex Tucker, and joining us again for another episode is one Ryan Dalton. How are we feeling tonight, gentlemen?
Great. Ready to geek out.
Feeling good?
Yes.
Yeah,
Super good.
Good. Yeah, I'm feeling good too. The joys of Zoom. You know what I mean? Like there's always like a delay and no one knows who to go, no one really knows when they're supposed to say like hello, you know what I mean? And usually I say, "Hey, this is the order for this episode," but I forgot. So that's my fault. But there we go. We're here. We're ready to review The Mandalorian. As you can see, we are missing Emma and we are missing Mikey. God rest his soul. You know what I mean? I mean, they're just no longer with us. Emma's actually 10 feet away from me, but Mikey's gone for good.
He's dead.
He's done. He's force ghosted.
We killed him.
Literally. He pissed us off so bad off mic that we literally killed him in real life. And now
I just killed him on mic last week.
There was just a cloak on the floor where he was formerly sitting.
Literally, yeah. That was a fun episode, and that was some interesting discourse on Twitter the next day. But we're not going to go there because we talked about it. We talked about it. We talked it out. Everyone hugged it out, Michael Scott style, and it's fine. It's all good now. So, and if you get that reference, then you're the best. But we are here. We're ready to talk some Mandalorian, guys. Can you believe? Caleb, I'm going to throw this to you first. Like, can you believe that we're here on the 7th episode of The Mandalorian? And I mean, literally in a few days, we're going to have the finale and we're going to review that. Like, who'd have thought? You know what I mean? How you feeling?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's gone by really quick. It's kind of sad. If it weren't for, us just finding out there's going to be like 10 other shows or, various different media of Star Wars coming out within the next couple of years, it'd be kind of depressing. But yeah, it's really exciting. And I can't wait to see how it all wraps together. And then all the speculation for what's going to happen in the Star Wars universe after it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Rex, what did you think about all the new announcements?
I mean, any Star Wars news is good. Like, you always like hearing that, right? So
yeah,
I'm pretty excited, especially for the one that's going to be set in the High Republic, I think. And of course, she's pretty awesome. So really excited for those two in particular. But hearing all of that was just awesome.
Which one's going to be set in the High Republic? The Acolyte?
The Acolyte, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. What did you think? I can tell Ryan Dalton has a very interesting hat on. Now, Ryan, do you like Star Wars, or what did you think about all the announcements?
A little bit. I like it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, can you tell by my fancy Star Wars hat, which I got at Disneyland?
Oh, did you build a lightsaber too?
No. Last time I was there, it like the Star Wars land wasn't open yet. And we had planned to go. We were planning to go actually this past fall, and then the Rona happened, and we had to cancel. But I had grand plans. I was going to go do the lightsaber build, and I've avoided all like most spoilers about what that whole experience is like because I really want to experience it. My only struggle was I was thinking, man, when I build it, I don't think they're collapsible with the blade. So how am I going to get that on a plane and take it home? So I still don't know how I'm gonna
buy. They have like a container you can, like a soft sheath you can like buy and take it in that because it unscrews.
Oh, okay.
Dude.
My sister has. Well, she got the model ones, not the building one, but she got two of the other ones. They're really nice.
I want
and it'll
one
go
so
next
bad.
to my. I already have the Force Effects Anakin lightsaber, so.
Nice.
Whenever I'm eventually able to do that, they'll have a nice place next to that. But yes, I am a lifelong Star Wars fan and a lifelong comic book fan. So the day that they announced all the shows for Star Wars and all the shows for Marvel. I'm kind of an insomniac anyway, but I literally had trouble falling asleep that night. I was so excited. Just just thinking about all this super cool stuff, and thinking about if I told 10-year-old me that half of this stuff was going to be happening in his lifetime, he wouldn't believe it. So I'm letting my inner kid who would have flipped out at this just continue to flip out and have a good time.
That's how you got to do it. And I was kind of in a similar situation as you. I mean, I was watching the Game Awards and grinding Destiny bounties, and I was like getting all these tweets like popping up, and I had read, the day before that there was going to be like some Star Wars news, like 10 new shows were going to, like, there was 10. I read like a headline tweet like 10 new shows are in the works or something like that. But I did not realize that event would actually be taking place very shortly that same day that I got that headline. So like literally the news broke that there's 10 shows in the works. I'm like, oh my God, when am I going to hear about this? Had no idea we were going to be getting all this news because I was very focused on the Game Awards. But yeah, I'm like, it was just like a great day to be a nerd that day because, all this Game Awards stuff is happening, and I'm like freaking out at all these announcements and like seeing all the awards and, just having a good night. And then simultaneously checking Twitter and being like, what? All this stuff. And by the time, it was all over, it was too late for me to make a video on it. But I did give my thoughts on YouTube the next day, kind of about what I thought. And man, I'm go ahead, Caleb.
No, I was just curious. I know that Rex said that he's looking forward to like the Acolyte, like that's what he's looking forward. I was just curious what each one of us is looking forward to the most out of all of those projects.
That was a really good question. Caleb, I'm so proud of you for asking that question. Why don't you go first, actually?
So for me, it's in between three. It's between Ahsoka, between Rogue Squadron, and between the Obi-Wan series. And I think one of my favorite movies of all time is Top Gun. So hearing that they're wanting to basically come out and make the greatest fighter pilot like movie ever set in Star Wars, like with Rogue Squadron, I'm like, yeah, sign me up. I'm there for it. I cannot wait for that. It's going to be awesome.
I just got like a vision of Poe Dameron walking out and like smiling and putting his aviators on. Someone like needs to make like a parody.
Change his own.
Literally. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Yeah. Dude, I'm right there. What do you think, Rex? What are you most excited for?
So did they announce like the Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
That's going to be a show, right?
Yeah, show.
Yeah, show. So yeah, it's in between that and the Acolyte. And I just think I'm really interested in the Acolyte because, I don't know a lot I don't know a lot of information about that period. I played like Knights of the Old Republic, but that's about it. So I know there's a lot of like Sith and Jedi, so I just feel like that's going to be somewhat interesting. And of course, like I love Obi-Wan, and I think his show's going to be really good. How do you guys feel about Hayden Christensen coming back as Darth Vader?
I don't think you necessarily need Vader in the show. I get the temptation. I also don't think Hayden Christensen was the problem in the sequels. I think the person directing him was the problem. So Ryan, I say give the man a shot,
Ryan, I appreciate your take so much. We've done 2 podcasts together, and I already love every single thing you've said.
Yeah, a lot of people had issues with it, saying like that means that Obi-Wan is gonna obviously like encounter Vader again, and what's gonna happen, and it takes away from their fight in A New Hope. So I don't
necessarily.
I don't think so. I don't think it will take away from that. But I'm pretty excited for that whole thing.
Well, I think you could even have a show where they never meet, and yet the things that they're doing are still intertwining and pushing and pulling against each other. You could even have it where they don't even know that the other one is the antagonist that they're struggling against. An example is I don't know if you guys are fans of The Fifth Element, sci-fi movie.
Oh yeah, it's like my favorite sci-fi.
Well, the hero and the villain never meet. Corbin Dallas and the Zorg never actually meet or are face to face. They do not know that either one of them exists, and yet everything they're doing is intertwined with what the other one is doing. So you could do something similar and have each one be sort of like this specter who's in the background of the other's lives and they don't even realize it. I'm not saying that's what they will do, but it is possible.
You're saying that's how you would do it.
I'm saying that's how I would do it.
You realize we're gonna like totally bring your profession to be this and like, oh, I'm Ryan and I write books and I'm the smartest person here. Like, no, I'm just kidding. No, I'm joking.
Note that I didn't say any of that.
I'm actually about to have probably my, like, I guess what they call it, the geek card and the nerd card revoked. I've never seen The Fifth Element. So
Really?
we might have to review that on the podcast at some point in 2021.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally. Stay tuned,
Well,
ladies and gentlemen, too, because we're having, some new segments pop up on the show. One that we've been kind of dancing with for a while now has been retro reviews. So, we might just have to add that movie to the list of those movies. And we might start with that one. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, and I'll tell you, when I first watched it, I did not like it. I don't know if I was in the wrong mood or just was expecting something else, but I left the theater like, I don't get it, man. And then like the second time I saw it, I guess I was in the right mood or something. And it was like watching a completely different movie. And I've loved it ever since then. So you never know. The first viewing may not be the same for you.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way about The Last Jedi. I was like, I don't know. That's pretty cool. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, this is the best Star Wars movie. I'm just kidding. I'm so sorry.
All right, I got to go, guys.
I'm just kidding. I'm so sorry. It's kind of interesting we mentioned the Hayden Christensen thing, though, because I think it'd be kind of interesting to have him play somewhat of a minimal part. And I thought it was kind of interesting the way we saw Yoda and the Clone Wars kind of get tested by the dark side. It wouldn't be so crazy to think that Obi-Wan drawing away from the Force, he'd be tempted by that dark side, and there'd be sort of a gray chapter in his life, so to speak, where maybe the dark side is like kind of Empire Strikes backing him a little bit, like in the cave, but maybe a more prolonged period. It could be kind of cool, like if the dark side's tempting him and like there's like a grotesquely like burned Anakin or something like that showing up every now and then to like let him know that he failed. That could be kind of a cool take too, I think. I don't know. I think it got confirmed, or I saw on TikTok, it was just someone saying like, oh, these things have been confirmed that we're going to see in the show. I think that they did say that they're going to duel on the space station. SR 383, what's it called? SR 388. What's it called? Whenever Obi-Wan and Vader fight for the first time. No, they're on the Death Star, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that scene, like, I think supposedly there's supposed to be like a new version of that, but I don't know how true that is. I didn't fact check it. I was just scrolling through TikTok, but yeah. Anyways, Ryan, did you say which one you're most excited for?
I mean, I can't just sit here and name all of them, so I guess I got to pick something. I like Ahsoka, so I think that'll be fun. I think making a kind of a dark, like a Sith focused show is a very cool idea. It could almost be like a Loki type show where you can make someone sort of anti-heroish almost.
Yeah, we've never had that, so that would be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I have a little bit of a once removed personal stake with the Rogue Squadron one, which of course I loved the series, and I think it's a great idea, and I think Patty Jenkins is a great director. Also, Michael Stackpole, who wrote the Rogue Squadron series, is a friend of mine, and so when I saw the news, I reached out to him and was talking to him about that, and just to like see something that he did. Not that he doesn't even know, not that they're even taking storylines from that, but to see something he did in some way, validated 20 years later to that degree, it is just super exciting for me because he's a super cool guy and a very talented writer.
That's a really cool story. Like, I will be so happy to hear like whenever things come up on the show and you're like, oh yeah, I know that guy. And it's like, really? Tell us about him. You know what I mean? Like, just tell us all. That's awesome.
If they're not cool, I'll tell you about them off camera. If they are cool, which
the
vast majority of them are cool. And Michael's a very cool guy. And so I'm gonna be real. I would love to see it if they threw in even just little references to stuff that he did and stuff that he came up with. That would be really fun.
That's cool. Hopefully you can bring some of those things out whenever the time comes. For me, I think it's kind of a tie between 3 for me as well. Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and then I'm really, really excited for the Vision show. I think that's going to be really cool. Like anime Star Wars, like little short films, like little 30 to 45 minute, episodes, basically. Single, like isolated stories. I love whenever they've done stuff like that in the past, like with Halo had like some anime type stuff for a while. That was pretty cool. It was like self-isolated. And even, like there's nothing like a short anime that like it just tells a very specific story in a very specific amount of time. And, there's a lot of things that they can do in the Star Wars universe. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see what takes shape. But yeah, Caleb, thanks for bringing that out. That was good. That was a lot of news. It's a good time to be a Star Wars fan. It's a good time to be a nerd, a geek, whatever you are. But we are here, in fact, to talk about the penultimate episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian. And I know, gentlemen, we want to stall as long as possible because we don't want the season to end and we don't have to wait until Christmas Day next year to start up The Mandalorian. And it's already been confirmed that that's whenever it's going to start. So, I mean, that's going to be a long year. You know what I mean? Like it already felt long to get to season 2, but it's been well worth it. I think this is every single episode gives me something really tangibly like satisfying. It just gives you a lot to chew on. Like each episode, nothing has really felt like fluff except the spider episode. And even still that had a lot of stuff in it. So, as we go through and whenever we go to the finale on Friday, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, for Mandalorian and what it means for the future of Star Wars. And I'm really excited to do so. But before we get into the review, really fast, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Raise Energy and PopCultUSA.com. I do this every single week. Got a lot of stuff going on over here. It keeps me busy on top of my secular work. But obviously, it's the dream to make this a living at some point. And Raise has been so gracious to give me free energy drinks to keep me going and work on this stuff. You can go to Raise or rappsports.com to use my code _wannabecritic to get yourself 15% off. Also, I don't have any Pop Cult merch on right now, but if you use the exact same code _wannabecritic, they have a ton of stuff. Some officially licensed geeked out swag, whatever your fandom is. I guarantee they got it for you. So go check it out. It's popcultusa.com and rappsports.com and use the code _wannabecritic. But enough about that. Let's get on with the review. So I'm going to sum up this episode in the quickest way possible. Episode 15, I believe, right? Chapter 15, The Believer. After, what's Bill Burr's character's name?
Mayfeld.
Mayfeld, yeah. So after Mayfeld is broken out by Cara Dune, basically Mando and Mayfeld infiltrate a imperial like station of sorts on a planet called, what was the name of the planet? Moncor? Morak, yeah.
I think Morak, yeah.
On Morak, they are basically intercepted by the locals, and there's a scuffle. They get, they prevail, of course. They make it to the station, get the information as to where Moff Gideon's whereabouts is, and then they escape. That's a lot that happens, but there's a lot of little nuance and a lot of little things that happen throughout the episode. But that's basically the gist of it. We get Mayfeld back. We get to Morak. We invade the station. We get the coordinates. We escape. The end. So there's a lot of stuff in this episode. Obviously, I think this was. Let's just do the ritual, gentlemen. Do we like this episode? Yes or no, Caleb?
Yeah, I do. I thought it was a really cool episode with a lot of cool little pieces, some cool visuals, and some good character development. And I think that, this is kind of my take. I think that this episode is kind of probably going to be what is considered the setup episode for the Rangers of the New Republic series that we're getting. Because I think that might be kind of the direction that's going, following all of these kind of characters, whether it's Cara Dune or Mayfeld or what's her name, Finnick. like all these different characters like in the galaxy, because we're kind of all seeing, even though when we were introduced to them, they're kind of these, bad guy type characters, that they all actually have redeeming qualities and they're actually like decent people. And yeah, I just like the way that they've been able to develop these what seemed like minor characters last season and really flesh them out in this season. And this episode does a really good job of that. And yeah, I liked it.
Well said. I like that. Rex?
Yeah, I kind of have a love-hate with this episode.
Oh.
Only for one reason, really, and it feels like the characters just don't really mesh together very well. And I kind of had this issue with episode 4, the siege. It just feels like the character dynamics a little off. I think especially between I don't know, Cara Dune and Fennec, it feels like, I don't know, like would these characters realistically like work together? And I don't know, it just feels a little off. And you throw in Mayfeld's character, who's very different from the usual character that we've gotten in Mandalorian. And some of his comedy kind of comes off a little out of place, I feel like, but overall I liked his character. But yeah, I just felt like a little disconnect.
I like that take, and I kind of agree with the Mayfeld thing, and I felt kind of a similar way, because I think Bill Burr, like, honestly, this was the episode of The Mandalorian that made me like Bill Burr as like an actual comedian, because I don't know, like if you ever watch him in interviews, he's very just like, I'm right, you're wrong, and you're an idiot if you disagree. And he's like, this is just how it is. That's just, that's comedy. That's like literally, there is no reasonable ground in comedy. And I don't know. It was nice for me, I think it was nice to see the acting, but I think for what you're saying, it does kind of come off a little crass. Is that the right word? Is that the right word that I'm thinking of? Actually, is that the right word, Ryan?
Well, I think I see what you're getting at. I think it's supposed to feel like these characters don't fit together. Like it's supposed to be uncomfortable that they're working together, because they really shouldn't be. And that I think is part of the fun. You just have to embrace that. I think part of it is that none of them in a sane world would be working together at all. And I think Mayfeld is part of that. Well, for one, they wrote that character for Bill Burr, so I think there is part of sort of who he is informing the character through the writers, and that may be part of why he stands out as his tone being so different. I also think I like it in a certain way, because in a galaxy full of people, there is going to be the occasional person who doesn't buy into the fact that they're all in this epic story that we're watching. And I do like that about him. He reminds me in a different way of, in Lord of the Rings, the book specifically, of the Faramir character, who, unlike almost every other, man on Earth, literally looks on the ring with disdain and says, if that thing was on the side of the road, I wouldn't pick it up. I know how evil it is, and I don't even want to touch it. Whereas the whole lore of the ring is that essentially nobody can resist its power. Yet here's this one guy that's like, no, I don't want it. And I think characters like that can be interesting, because they throw the whole world in a stark relief. And they force you to kind of look at things in a different way. I don't know. I think a disruptive point of view can be fun.
So you enjoyed this episode?
Nah, no, I'm kidding. Yes, I did indeed enjoy the episode.
I enjoyed it too. And I think more of my issue might be with Cara Dune's character and her acting.
Well, I get that.
Yeah. I think that might have had a big part in it, especially in the beginning when they're like freeing him and she's just like, I don't know, she's just walking away, and you don't really get much emotion other than like snarkiness from her. Yeah. And that's the only thing I kind of don't like about her.
Go ahead, Caleb.
You know what this episode kind of feels like? It's like when you're getting married and you're having a wedding, and you're having to mesh all of these like family and friend groups together, and they don't really know each other, and it's kind of awkward, and they're all having to talk to one another and get along. because they're all there for you. Like they've got all of them got your back, and you're friends with all of them for different reasons, but they don't really know each other. And I think that's kind of what it is. You have the Mandalorian, and he's trying to get Baby Yoda, and all these different people are like, all right, we're gonna help you because we're, have this attachment to you for some reason. But I don't know you. I don't know you.
I don't like you.
I don't like you. Like, it's just kind of like this awkward thing, but they all have a common goal. And I think it's just kind of gives it like what Rex is talking about, this kind of like awkward interchange, which I think if it's developed right, and they could play off of that in the future, but it does kind of just come across kind of awkward.
I think for me too, like I get the Cara Dune thing. I came to grips with the fact that I didn't like Cara Dune in the first season. So when she showed back up in the second season, I was like, oh my God, here we freaking go again. And then now, and it has nothing to do with women at all. I literally just don't really like the character. But once I came to grips with the fact that that's how it was, and that's just how she is, then I think kind of in the background, she kind of starts to grow on me, but I care less and less about what she's actually saying and what she's actually doing. So I just don't really, I'm not saying I'm not paying attention, but I think about, that's just how it is. Like, that's just how she is. And it doesn't really bother me. It's like, oh yeah, bad acting. I buy that because that's who she is. You know what I mean? But I get what you're saying, Rex, especially if you have any sort of attachment or any sort of like affinity for that character at all. I was thinking about, who Mayfeld reminds me of in this episode a lot, actually? Han Solo. Like, just with the way, we think we know him, and Mayfeld is my favorite part. There's two things about what my favorite parts of this episode were. Like, the whole thing was awesome, obviously, and dare I say, this episode felt like the follow-up to Rogue One we deserved, honestly. Like, it felt more Rogue One-ish, especially like with the tan troopers and stuff like that. It just felt very heisty, in a lot of ways. And I loved that. But Mayfeld was my favorite part of the episode, especially whenever he's like just saying about what went down. Like, you can feel the tensions building, and like the music is just kind of, ambient in the background. It's like, oh my God, somebody's going to shoot him. It's like, oh my God, he shot him. You know what I mean? And then it goes crazy from there. I loved that. And then also in the beginning, whenever Mando's like, Fett, do the thing, he's like telling Boba Fett what to do. I was kind of like, that was awesome. Just that little interaction, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like goes back to what Caleb was saying. It very much does have a sense of like familiarity, and that you totally understand that all of these characters have Mando's best interest at heart, and they're there for it. Like, they're there to help him, and like they're on board. They all have a sense of, they know saving this kid is important. And even if it's not so much for the kid itself, it's like out of respect for what Mando has done for them and what he's proven to them. So it's just kind of I don't know. I really liked seeing the entire dynamic, but, when we go around the room and talk about favorite points, I already kind of touched on mine. Caleb, what were some of your favorite parts of the episode?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best part is when Mayfeld is going on that rant to the officer, and he's talking about Operation Cinder and all of that, because he's kind of been leading that he has this resentment towards the Empire, and he's been kind of, hinting at that all episode, and he just unleashes it at that point. And him, pulling a Han Solo and just shooting the guy, is kind of, it's kind of this like, whoa, like this guy's like showing some emotion. I thought that was probably the best scene. Just other things I thought were really cool. I liked all the action. I thought it was awesome. I love Slave One. Boba Fett and his armor looks incredible. Like, so stinking cool. Like, so amazingly cool. Like, whoever did that, shout out to you. It was really cool. But yeah, and I think overall it was paced pretty well as well. Like this, I didn't get the feeling that this episode was too long or too short. And that's been something that, I've kind of, talked about quite a bit this season with these different episodes, is like how long they've been, like whether they're too short, too long, whatever. But this one was just, it felt right. I don't even know how long it was. Like, I was like, this felt right. And yeah, I think that's great.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's like 38 minutes. So, yeah, I think it was probably a perfectly timed episode as well. Rex, what did you think?
Yeah, I agree with everything Caleb said, especially Boba Fett's armor. It's like it was really cool to see his outfit and how they did that and how different it is from the past. Um, I really think Mayfield kind of, you mentioned he was like Han Solo. He felt like Han Solo. And I think maybe it's because he did kind of steal this episode a little bit and he kind of stole the show. And his character, I felt like at least him and Mando like worked well together and the dynamic was there. And I felt like it kind of grounded the Mandalorian, like having his character. It brought he has an interesting arc that I'm not sure if we needed it or wanted it really, but it works. And his arc brings something to the table that evokes some emotions that I think I felt with like Finn being a defect and seeing all the bad things that the Empire does, and really having that sense of morality. And in a sense, I kind of liked it better than what they did with Finn's character in Force Awakens, and like showed that emotion a bit better. So I really liked that, and definitely agree with Caleb that my favorite part was when he was talking to the was it Admiral? I forgot his name.
I don't know. He was some high ranking officer in the Empire, but he was a slime, is what he was. Like,
Whoever that actor was nailed it. Like, it was
Fun-
perfect.
totally.
Fun fact, that's the guy who played Joe Chill in Batman Begins.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, in the beginning, the person who kills Batman or Bruce Wayne's parents. I knew he looked familiar. I just couldn't place where. But yeah, no, he killed it. Like, he nailed it for sure. I like hearing you're expressing that, Rex, because we know the Empire is rotten, and I liked seeing that whole thing expressed. Like, Finn didn't want to be a stormtrooper, like he was forced to, and that's kind of the situation with a lot of stormtroopers, is like they have no other choice, like they're forced into it. And yeah, like to see that Bill Burr kind of got out, and like, I don't know, it kind of makes his story, especially in the first season, like we kind of have some missing puzzle pieces kind of connecting. It's like, oh, like you don't want to pick a side, because in reality, like that kind of feels like the wrong thing. And I like how the show kind of dances around that, like how, the New Republic, Mando's kind of like doesn't really walk a fine. He walks a very specific line, but it doesn't sway one way or the other. And even the New Republic, who are supposed to be the good guys, are like, hey, pull over, like, pull over. No, it's a cardigan. Thanks for asking. But like, there's, I like how they kind of deal with that whole political side of things, and kind of, he gets to kind of mirror Mando in a way, but kind of more towards the bad guy side in a way, which I thought was pretty interesting. So
you see like how cold the Empire can be. And I like that rifle shot at the end, and kind of, gets back at them in a way, or, makes some sort of peace with everything.
Well said. Ryan, favorite parts for you?
I liked Fett's little line at the beginning when he talks about not going into the facility, and he says, "I have a feeling they'll recognize my face." I thought that was a fun reference to, yeah, all of them probably know what the clones looked like. So if they saw him, that might cause a stir. I like that we sort of saw the culmination in this episode of Mando's creed sort of being called into question. I mean, he met the other Mandalorians who would take their helmets off, and I think it's a very important conversation that he has with Mayfeld when they're in the transport or the tank thing, and where he's saying, like, people are, if you're born on Alderaan, you believe in one thing; you're born on Mandalore, you believe another. But guess what? Neither of those places exist anymore. And I liked that it culminates in him at the end being able to, in a moment of need for the right reason, take his helmet off and not feel like he has failed as a Mandalorian. And even a cool kind of almost like an understanding, sensitive moment from Mayfeld when he gives him back his helmet and isn't even looking at him at that point. He just says, "Look, you did what you had to do. I never saw your face." And you believe him in that moment. He'll never tell anyone that he saw Mando take his helmet off. so I thought that was really, really cool. I do, yeah. I mean, and the whole episode was leading up to that conversation at the table, and Mayfeld taking that shot, and it was just, you could feel the whole energy of the show. Like when that starts, you're like, oh, here it comes.
Literally.
and,
The guy, the stormtrooper with the tray, he's like looking, like there's a pausing, like looks at what happened, and then Mayfield just starts going nuts. I was like, oh, like I was freaking out.
And there's a moment where I've actually pulled it up on YouTube and watched it a few times because I love it. There's a moment right after the officer says, people really want order and they're going to welcome us back. There's like 5 seconds where Mayfeld's just looking at him. And if you look, he has like 20 different little micro expressions that go across his face before he finally pulls out his blaster and takes the guy out. And it made me wonder, and maybe there's an element that I missed or wasn't understanding, but it made me wonder if the title the Believer didn't apply to him before Project Cinder. Like maybe he was a true believer in what the Empire was doing until he saw his own government literally kill tens of thousands of people simply because the Emperor was mad that he lost. And it would also explain why, he's questioning, he would believe, okay, anybody in power is capable of doing something like that, which is why he's not a believer in the New Republic either. I think they were able to very efficiently convey a lot of interesting things about his character. I think the show is really good at letting side characters like shine and have a moment and have their own, life and backstory. And I really like that.
Yeah, that's well put. And, you talk about like all these little mini things. That's one, the first season did it really well in a lot of ways, but it has taken that and run with it in the second season and turned it up to 20. Like from the first episode, the bike, the speeder, it's like, that's Anakin's pod racer. Like that's half of his pod racer that he's riding on right now. Like all those little things. And I mean, we got some of that in this episode too, when they're making their escape and Fett's like, hold on, and like he drops the kinetic bomb right out the back. And it was like, I was literally, there's like a moment of silence. Like I grabbed him and I was like, no way. And then it just goes, bam, and like does the thing and blew it up. I was like, oh my God, it's like Attack of the Clones. It made Attack of the Clones cool. Like I didn't know that was possible. Caleb, go for it.
So I legitimately cheered when that happened because he's in this dogfight with these. And I'm sitting there. I'm just thinking. I was like, please, just drop that thing out of the back, just please. And then just seeing it open up and just that gratification of like, yes, 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 and I was so stinking excited. And Emily is watching it. She's looking at me. She's like, what is up with you? And I'm like, you have no idea like how much I love Slave One and they did that with those kinetic bombs or whatever they're called. It just made me so happy. It was so cool. I loved it.
I think they're called seismic detonators.
Yeah,
or something
seismic.
Like that.
That
makes sense. Yeah,
that's the word. But I had the same. I shared the same sentiment, as you, Caleb. Whenever that happened, I was like, oh my God, they're tying. And they were kind of hinting a little bit too at the First Order. I think it's like, oh, they want
what
order.
They want is order. Yeah.
Oh, they want is order. And I was like, and they've done. They've done a really good job of taking the things that we really love in the OG trilogy and really in the prequels. There is so much good Star Wars lore in the prequels. Like realistically, there is. And there's some good lore in the sequels, I personally think. And I think they've done a really good job of taking that stuff that we really, really love and like giving us just enough of that while acknowledging like, hey, this stuff that happens in the future, like that is still a thing, but we're not going to focus on that. We're not going to make that the highlight. We're going to take the stuff that we know for a fact you love, and we're going to, make a bigger point off of that. And I love, as somebody who loves all of it, no matter what, it feels really awesome to see the entire picture coming together and being like, Mandalorian's the best thing that's ever happened to Star Wars outside of Empire. Like it keeps getting better and better for me personally. Was there anything that we saw that we were like, it doesn't really do a ton for me? And Rex kind of talked about Cara Dune a little bit. Was there anything that was kind of like, I wasn't crazy about that? Go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, so a couple of things that they're not like terrible, but just a little bit. I'll start off with, so they're they steal a Juggernaut, right? And it's full of these explosives. And I think like the Juggernaut might be the only Star Wars like vehicle that has wheels.
Yeah.
And they're using it to carry these explosives, and if it gets too bumpy, the thing explodes. So it's just kind of like, okay, that doesn't make much sense. But then I'm like, well, we've also discussed already on this podcast how incompetent the Empire is.
Yeah.
And maybe it's
true.
just like more of like, hey, the Empire is so incompetent they can't even use like a transport that like doesn't have wheels to like transport this thing that's like highly explosive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had a thought on the wheel thing because I was thinking about it too. I was like, I don't know, maybe because that base is supposed to be like secretive or whatever. Like maybe they wanted to like ship something that didn't seem too conspicuous or something. That's the only thing I could come
the
up with.
only vehicle in the galaxy that has wheels. It's like it's like they bring it to the Emperor and they're like, all right, sir, the secret lab on Morak is ready to go. Can we get the money for the speeders? And he's like, Morak, no. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, why? I don't understand that either. That's a good point.
You're probably right, though. It's funny because we've seen the Juggernauts in 2 other times. One is in Revenge of the Sith when they're on Kashyyyk and the clones are using them. And then the other time is in Rogue One when Jyn Erso is being transported on a like prison planet by one. So it might be that they're like kind of this relic of, the Clone Wars that the Empire kind of just uses for random stuff. So that might be it. But yeah, it's just like, why are they using this wheeled transport? But I mean, again, the Empire is incompetent. The other thing that just kind of just shook me because it was just seemed so like copied was the end with basically Mando doing a Liam Neeson to Moff Gideon, like doing a full Taken scene of like, I am going to come and take the child from you.
Yeah.
Like it's literally what it was.
Well, that was, he almost perfectly mirrored the speech that Moff Gideon gave him at the end of last season.
Yeah, no, I caught that and I get that. That's fine. But it just, I don't know. It felt a little shoehorned in. And I mean, I get it. Like it's fine to do that. But it's just like, yeah, it just seems a little bit like too on the nose. And it's not that big of a deal. It's not that huge of a concern. I don't think it's just kind of a little thing.
Yeah. I don't think it would have hurt the episode if it was gone. That's for sure. Yeah. It's one of those things
exactly.
that it didn't really. Yeah, I guess I'm like, I get what they were going for. It probably didn't have the effect that they wanted it to. It wasn't quite as dramatic, I think, but as maybe they had hoped that moment would be. Yes, I could see that.
All it did for me was piss me off because I knew the end of the episode was coming. So it was like, oh, frick, here we go. Well, it's like, oh, well, there's Moff Gideon. And then about that time, I checked to see how much time was left. And it was like 4 minutes. And I was like, well, frick. You know what I mean? It's like the episode's almost over.
Can I complain about how many credits there are after the show? There's like 4 minutes of credits after the show.
Literally, it's like use that time. Yeah, literally, use that time to tell more Mando.
Hey, the artwork is cool though.
It is pretty cool.
Very cool.
At some point, whenever I have a little bit of extra money, I'm going to buy the vinyl set from Mondo from season 1. If there's a season 2, you know what I mean. Like I'll probably buy that one as well, but. I got to have that soundtrack on vinyl. It's too good. What's crazy about the show, though, like we went over to Emma's aunt's house today to look at some puppies because we're thinking about getting another dog. And she's talking to us about this dog. And all of a sudden I hear, like the Mando music, and that's her text tone. A person who could care less about Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, and like it immediately caught my attention, and like I looked at her phone, and I looked at her, and she was like, "Dude, it's so good." Like, the show is so versatile and so appealing to so many different people. I have to ask the question: have we ever seen a show so accessible to everybody? Literally, like it's appropriate for anyone, in my opinion. I mean, it's Star Wars. I mean, it is Star Wars at its core. Have we seen anything that has been more approachable in media other than Star Wars? I'll wait.
What do you mean?
I don't understand the question.
Like,
sorry.
Like a show or a movie or anything. Has there been anything to where it's like literally has drawn in such a wide audience other than just like hardcore Star Wars fans?
I think certain things in media tend to do that. Like, I mean, this is totally different, but like The Office, for example, brings in tons of this huge fandom because it's relatable. Um, and people can relate to it, a lot of different media does that for varying reasons. But I mean, yeah, The Mandalorian is definitely one of those pop culture things that's going to be remembered, and it's going to be in, yeah, it's going to be in like the culture's eyes for forever, because it's reached so many people, and it's kind of relatable in a weird way that Star Wars doesn't always do that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that take. And I'm not trying to get like too ambiguous with the question or anything, but literally I can't remember a time growing up, and I mean, I'm a mega nerd just like you guys. I cannot remember a time where literally, I think the biggest thing for me that I can remember people like, that's what the water cooler moment, like that's what people are talking about, might have been Lost, maybe. But like, I can't think of a television show. We'll keep it to just shows. I can't think of another television show that has been this popular amongst children, adolescents, adults, Star Wars fans, non-Star Wars fans in general. Like, I can't remember a time or a show that has been this popular. And it's crazy because it is for mega nerds. It is Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's just
Street.
Sesame Street. Rex, get out. You're out of here. But no, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
I think it just shows that good storytelling is universal.
Yeah,
that's it. That's my comment.
That's the tweet. That's it. That's the tweet.
And I just think that when there's something that is undeniably of good quality, that it's hard to hold it back. It's always going to find an audience. It just has a leg up in the fact that it happens to be Star Wars as well.
Yeah.
But stuff that is great, hopefully we'll find its audience, and this happened too. So.
Well, and I just think about like, 1 second, Rex. I just think about like, if if Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are basically becoming the Kevin Feige of Disney in a sense, these shows, like, what'd you say?
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Like I hope so.
Yeah, literally. I mean, that's what I've heard is like, I think they're kind of overseeing, not directing each episode and stuff, but I think they're kind of the ones that are putting everything together for all of these shows. I can't think of anything to where we're not going to have all these shows be of a similar quality and feeling to what we're getting in Mandalorian. But go ahead, Rex.
I was just going to say, like, with your question, you mostly get that with like movies and not with TV shows. And they really are putting in all the effort that you would put in a movie into this show. And I think that's maybe why it has such a wide appeal too, or at least it helps it.
Yeah, in terms of the quality and simplicity. We could have, it's like if I have the choice of having 8 pretty long episodes or 15 short episodes, give me the 8 long ones. Make it an event, make it feel special, make each season feel like a mini series, and it's like, okay, this is all you're getting until next year. You know what I mean? Like, and they do such a good job. It's just so masterfully done, and I love the show. It has become like my favorite show. And
that's the BBC model, is to only give you like 8 episodes a year, and because of that, there's no need for filler. You can just use your best ideas.
Totally.
And I mean, man, quality over quantity any day.
They've Sherlocked us. You know what I mean? So, well, what do you say? It's about time to wait. Did Ryan have anything negative to say about this episode? I don't have anything negative to say, by the way.
I mean, yeah, just little things. I wouldn't say. I mean, I came away from that episode wholly having had a great time. So yeah, anything I would say would just be little nitpicks, or I might have done this or that a little bit differently. But I had a blast.
Very nice. Love it. Well, what do you say we kind of give our final thoughts and score this bad boy?
Cool.
Caleb, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I think it's an 8.5 for me. It has some really cool moments, very memorable moments, whether it's, the seismic detonator going off, or I love the moment where like the TIE fighters come in and save the day. Like seeing the Empire be the good guys in that moment is kind of cool. and then like the stormtroopers are hitting something for once in their life. It's it's really cool. I love seeing the shore troopers. There's a ton of little callbacks to that, whether it's Project Cinder or the shore troopers or Juggernaut or ISB. It's an ISB base. Like all these little things. It's kind of like, oh, it's like a little reward. And I mean, the Mandalorian does that so well. But yeah, I think what Rex's point was with it being this group just kind of seeming not all working together or fitting together perfectly and having that perfect chemistry. I think that both kind of works against it while also working for it. So it's kind of puts it in a weird, but yeah, I think 8.5 is a kind of a pretty solid score. And it's a good episode.
Well said. Well done. Rex?
Yeah, for me, it's going to be an 8. I think Caleb kind of went over it pretty well. Like what I brought out, it doesn't totally ruin the episode, and they really like pull it off with Bill Burr's character, and to where in the beginning I was a little nervous of how it was going to go, and they just tied it all together. So shout outs to him for that part, because he made it work, and it felt good.
Love it. Love to hear it. Ryan?
I give the episode an 8, and I give the Mayfeld scene at the table a 9. So, love the episode as a whole, and yeah, that scene to me was just pretty close to perfect. Just this beautiful character moment. I also did love the scene where you're actually cheering when the TIE fighters show up. And even Mayfeld like put a finger on it. He's like, "Hey, did you ever think you'd be glad to see stormtroopers?" And, that was a great switcheroo moment when you're like, "Yeah, TIE fighters." Oh, TIE fighters.
Yeah, literally. Wait a minute.
and the same 2 TIE fighters that you cheer that Boba Fett decimates like 10 minutes later with his bomb.
I didn't even catch that.
His comedy kind of works with like Mando not responding, just like looking at him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I had a blast. That was great.
Well said. I think, this is Bill Burr's episode in a lot of ways. And obviously, yes, it does advance us to this thing of the mission is to get the intel on Moff Gideon. We get that. And then we're left waiting till next week, and it really feels like Mayfield's episode, which makes me think that he's going to have more significance in the Star Wars universe, which I'm excited for. I think it's going to be great. For me, there isn't anything that really crazy happens that's like, oh my God, this is monumental or iconic, but we do get quite a bit of exposition from Mayfield, and we do get quite a bit of action. It's just a well-rounded episode. So I'm gonna have to go with Rex on this one and give it an 8. So, but that's good. I mean, across the board, 8s at an 8.5. I mean, what more could you want? Yeah, exactly. So really quick, I know Rex has to go, but just for a few minutes, I'd like to go around the room and let's talk about what this week's speculation is for the finale. If you have any thoughts about where you think the story is going, any thoughts on anything, really, now's the time. And then we're going to wrap the show up. So Caleb, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I think that we're going to get some sort of a team up. They're going to have to do it pretty quickly to get all of these characters together, but they've shown they can do that. And I think that we're going to really see a cool showdown between Moff Gideon and the Mandalorian, probably a hand-to-hand fight with the staff and the Darksaber. I think that'll be really cool. I think if we see the Dark Troopers again in combat, it would be pretty cool. It'll be interesting if we get, Ahsoka again, or whether it's Bo-Katan again. It'll be cool to see who's actually involved in the team up to get the child back. And I think that Moff Gideon probably is going to be done by the end of this season. But I think that there's a greater threat out there, and we're going to kind of see who's really pulling the strings behind Moff Gideon, whether that's Thrawn or whether, that's, the Emperor, or trying to clone things, or who knows, there's a whole lot of options out there, and it'll be interesting to see what the bigger threat is going into season 3.
Love it. Rex?
I haven't thought about it too much, what the next episode's going to be like, but my hopes, best case scenario would be like seeing Thrawn, but I know that's probably asking for much. But I think we'll probably see, who got in contact with Grogu. Maybe at the end, maybe earlier than that. I don't know, but they'll probably just tease it at the end as they finish off the season. And like Caleb said, kind of end with an awesome battle between Mando and Moff Gideon, which would be pretty dope.
Well said. Okay. Ryan?
I have a feeling they'll save Thrawn for Ahsoka's series since they announced that. I think he'll be the big bad for that, at least in the first while, or at least the Spectre. It doesn't mean they can't mention him or something in this show. That might be a way to tease him. I do think it almost has to happen where whatever Jedi, in parentheses, or Sith Grogu got in contact with, at least shows their face or a foot or a hand or something at the end of the episode to show.
Mechanical hand?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no way they do that. But I'm trying honestly not to think too much about it. I just kind of want to settle in and let it happen, like let the episode wash over me and just enjoy it. And it's like, just watching them get to the end zone and spike the football. I think it'll be fun.
That's a good analogy, but don't you ever freaking bring that I'm too good to have a conspiracy theory because I write books for a living and all this other crap. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding. I like the way you put that, and I think that's a big part. I think it's a big part of the fun of kind of speculating. And I've always been the type of person. Look, I was raised as an only child, which that should explain a lot. But speculation has always been like one of my favorite things ever. And for me, I think it would be a really cool twist to see a Sith be the one that Grogu reached out to. I don't know who it would be. And, I'm not sure if it, I don't know if it would be Snoke type thing. Like that's really the only thing that kind of makes sense to me. And, given the time period, but then again, I know that there's other Sith out there that are doing different things. I still kind of stick to the idea that whatever happens by the end of the finale, I don't think we're getting Grogu back in the hands of the Mandalorian. I think he goes with somebody by the end of the finale. Mainly because of foreshadowing. Like it just seems like there's been a lot of moments foreshadowed this season where it's like, hey, get used to maybe seeing less of him for a short period of time. But, it would also be really cool to see Sebastian Stan show up as Luke Skywalker. That's been a big rumor that maybe he's been the one that might be playing Luke. So if that's the case and he shows up and takes Grogu for, a ride, that'd be pretty cool. But either way, I think we're saying goodbye to Baby Yoda for a while after the finale. So, but ladies and gentlemen, whatever happens, you're going to have to tune into this show to hear our thoughts about it, because we are going to be covering it the day of on the finale, the special event. We're not going to be waiting till the next Monday. We're going to get to it ASAP, and I cannot wait to do that. Kind of save the housekeeping for the end of the episode. Just wanted to get to the meat of the show. We got a lot of stuff going on in 2021. We're looking forward to it. These week's shows will, in fact, be the last shows of the last new shows that are being recorded of 2021. We have a pre-recorded one at the very end of the month. Me and one Hayden Walker are going to be doing a season finale of The Office season 2. But these will be our last episodes this week. We need a little break, some time to readjust, some time to plan some things, get some things going. It's going to be a lot of fun. And honestly, I think everyone could use just a little break. We've been going at it hard. We've completed several projects, and it's been awesome. I was gonna wait to talk about this at a later time, and no one knows that I'm doing this because I didn't prep anybody, because that's how we do things over here. But I hope everyone's enjoying hearing Ryan Dalton's voice, because he is joining the podcast as a pretty somewhat regular. I think it's kind of like a week-to-week basis type thing, depending on what we're talking about. So, you can clap for Ryan in your car or wherever you're at, because we're very excited to have him. And also
Thank
Emma. You. Yeah, no, dude. Yeah. Take a moment, please. Ryan, how you feeling right now, man? Great podcast. How's it been going?
Oh, I feel great. I know I'm glad to have me here.
Yeah.
But, I used to podcast a lot, and then, life stuff happened. I moved. People I podcasted with moved, and I kind of got away from it, and I always missed it. And I like geeking out and stuff, and especially in these times where you can't really get out and see your friends that much. I am super stoked to be part of this. I think it'll be super fun.
Yeah, and I appreciate you letting me know up front, like, hey, I can't actually come on to rip Wolverine to shreds because
I'll explain why there may be some points, not always, so don't always infer if I'm not always there, but there may be some things that I decline to review, because as an author, I'm continually looking for work, and some of that
there
work,
it is. I write books for a living and all this
and
other stuff.
and some of that work occurs for companies that own large properties that I would rather not bash in public. So
it makes perfect sense.
So there may be things that I remain a silent partner on, but if I'm not there for an episode, don't always infer that I hate the thing you're reviewing.
Everyone just tweet at him. Just be like, "Hey Ryan, why aren't you on the podcast? What's going on?" You know what I mean?
No comment.
Yeah, but no, we're really excited to have you. It's nice to have a solid. I think we have it set up now to where we should have 4 people on, pretty much any time, and that's just really kind of a dream come true for me because, it started with me and Jace. And then, Jace and I both got busy, but and then I asked Caleb to come on and we kind of resurrected it. And then, we had Mikey join, several months later, then Rex joined, and now you're here, and now Emma's getting into it. And now our wives are getting into it. And like, now it's really turned into like a big podcasting event, Go ahead.
And Jace died.
Yeah. Jace is gone. Jace is gone. Never to return. God rest his soul. And I think we killed Mikey. Did we kill Mikey in this episode? I forgot. We did.
Yeah, we killed him off.
Okay, yeah. Later, dude.
We'll be a forced ghost if he ever shows up again.
We'll res you in the next episode, maybe. I actually did get a call from one Jay Scammell today about. Fun fact: he called me up and he's like, "Gabe, dude, I've been listening to the podcast and dude, I miss it. Like, can we do something? Can we do something?" So me and him are working on something right now that I'm not yet ready to talk about, but we'll see what happens. We'll see where it goes. And then, you can kind of keep an eye out on that project because if it ends up being what I think it's going to be really cool. So I'm excited. And then she's not here to defend her honor this evening, but one Emma Fast, my wife, a guy and his wife is going to be more full swing than ever on this podcast. We will be reviving the podcast feed that we have going. Emma's just been very busy with her business. I've been very busy with my business. I've been very busy with the podcast. We just haven't had as much time to podcast together as we would like. But she loves being on this show, and I think all of us enjoy having her. And it's been, a nice addition. Go ahead, Rex.
Got the midnight run too, right? Coming out this week.
But there is a midnight run coming out this week as well. If you would pay attention to the company Twitter, you would see that got announced. You know what I mean?
Oops.
Already. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, Rex Tucker and I will be reviewing the midnight run this week as well. So lots of news coming at you at the end of the episode. If you stuck around this long, God bless you. We love you. We look forward to seeing you this Friday. Whoever's there, it's going down. Remember that song? It's going down. That one was like popular for a little bit. That's what's happening. Mandalorian season finale. It's going down. You know what I mean? But I'm excited. I just drank an entire can of Dr. Pepper, and I'm ready to sign off. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming along on the ride, and we'll see you next time. And thank you for preparing yourselves for a plethora of hot takes and potentially unpopular opinions. Say goodbye, gentlemen.
Adios.
Goodbye, gentlemen.
Also, Dr. Pepper is the best now. Whatever possessed you to check out the podcast or the YouTube channel today, I just want to say thank you so much for doing so. If this is your first time here, I would appreciate it, if you would consider subscribing. As you can tell, it's not just me here anymore. I mean, I do stuff by myself, but the podcast is going to reside here from now on, in video form. So if you want to see more content, if you want to be notified, every time we post something, whether it be a clip, a podcast, a review, an interview, whatever it may be, if it's gaming stuff, make sure you click that bell and hit the subscribe button, and we will see you next time. Thanks for sticking around, and thank you for preparing yourselves for a plethora of hot takes and potentially unpopular opinions. I'm Gabriel Fast. I will always be the wannabe critic.